Okay, busy day. It's a Tuesday and it's May 12th, and welcome. The Modern Eater Show continues. 8 weeks and 1 day since your favorite restaurants' dining rooms have shut down, Jay. 8 weeks and 1 day.
Feels like
how they're hanging on, no
a
one
lot
will
longer
know.
than that.
No one will know. It's the rebooting of America, and you're seeing it happen slowly. So glad you could join us on this Tuesday. We're going to give you a peek inside the looking glass, and we'll head to Austin, Texas here momentarily. But I got to tell you this. Did you know what day or what week this is, Jay? Do you have any idea? Do you know?
Well, I mean, what week it is?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand the question.
What week it is? It's American Craft Beer Week.
Oh, America Craft Beer Week. I did not know that.
And I'm trying to figure out why this is freezing up on my computer, but of course it always does. American Craft Beer Week is a big thing as we're looking at the attrition happen right now to breweries all over Colorado. A projected 60% of breweries to shut down by midsummer, and we can't afford that to happen at all. I was looking for a craft beer video that the Brewers Association put out. And by the way, tomorrow, Julia Herz from the Brewers Association will join us on the Modern Eater Show. Here it is.
You got
this
it?
video. Yeah, let's see if we can play this thing. It's cool. Basically, it's showing the handoffs of the beer. And it's not going to work. Why would it work? Okay, move on from that. Craft Beer Week is this week, so do what you can to support your local breweries. Andrew Moore is going to join us. Last stop for Next Stop Brew Co., and that's a sad one. Andrew Moore is a close one to us, and that brewing company is no longer. They're shutting the doors at Next Stop Brew Company. CNC Coffee and Kitchen, they've been in the news, the fallout there. It's interesting to see what's happening as restaurants are starting to reboot. And some people are doing it on their own accord right now, just opening their restaurants. You saw us check in yesterday, and we went to Rifle, Colorado, where we caught up with Lauren, who is not only a political activist, but she's running for office, too, and took the opportunity to open up Shooters, which is a restaurant. And guess what? No liquor license there. So she took it upon herself to.
Yeah, I'm sure that makes somebody feel a lot better if you're going to buck the system a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Grubhub gets greedy, and we'll talk about that as well. Jared Leonard's going to join us. Larry Herz is going to join us. Dr. Sara Metz, Jennifer Hulan from Water's Edge Winery. Water's Edge Winery, a winery that's close to us, and Jennifer Hulan. We've had lots of conversations with Jennifer Hulan over the years. On the Modern Eater Show, but she'll join us here today to talk about why she is in the news. But in the meantime and in between time, let's do this. Let's head to Austin, Texas, and David Hernandez, frogging the bull, and short staff, but he'll still join us, and it's good to see your face. Thanks, David, for joining us on the Modern Eater Show.
For me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Got you right there. How are you, David? Good to see you. And you are actually in the news. Talk about a feel-good piece. Texas restaurant patron stuns with a $1,300 tip on reopening day. And talking about you in Austin, Texas, you were treated with a generous surprise after reopening your doors to customers on Friday. The excitement was felt by not only Frog and Bull, which you were posting about on your Facebook page, but here it is. You had a customer, and I'll let you tell the story because I think it's very heartfelt. But Friday you open, and talk about this particular story, and then we'll dig in with you and your business.
Yeah, no problem. We've got a customer that had discovered us shortly before COVID-19 hit, and had a great time here, and had looked forward to coming back. Was eager to get back. But all of that was, of course, postponed due to coronavirus. So Austin lifted the ban on dining services for restaurants on the 1st with the limitation of a 25% capacity. So he and his family got after it right away. They got in here to follow up on their intentions to come back and visit us, and did just that. And like I said, they got after it with a wonderful meal. They were, just the natural amount of the bill was, a high bill. They were sparing no expense, enjoying wine or ordering our higher end dishes and whatnot, and seemingly having a good time. And at the end of their meal, my young server Josh, He's been with us almost since the beginning, really, or actually since the beginning. He came up to me a little bit frazzled and asked me to come over to the table and kind of really almost sheepishly said that he wanted to double the bill, which kind of threw me off because I was incongruent with his demeanor. And usually when my employees come up to me frazzled after being at a table, it's not good news. So I got to go do some damage control of some sort. So I'd expected going over there to do that. And sure enough, the guy, straight away told me he wanted to double his bill. I kind of looked at him a little bit surprised with that. And, I more or less said, "Are you sure you don't have to do that? We're happy to have you here, as it is." He said, "No." He's like, "I'm very sure." And I knew that he was intent on doing that. So there was not much argument to be had there. So I did exactly that. I went and doubled his bill, which is already well north of $300 for him and his family, 5 of them total. And so then Josh brought him his tab. They closed out. We exchanged, some pleasantries on the way out. We were obviously, very happy with his generosity and, expressed our eagerness to have him back. And so not long after that, Josh had noticed that the guy had left him a $300 tip, which was almost half the value of the bill on a bill that was doubled. So extremely generous with the tip. But Josh got so excited about that. What he missed a little bit lower on the receipt written in pen was plus $1,000 for the house. Good luck. And so this guy keeps being quoted as he tipped a $1,300 tip. But if you include the fact that he doubled the bill, it was well over $1,600, probably closer to $1,700 tip.
What a story. Why you?
I don't know. I mean, obviously he enjoys his experience here. So that's helpful. But, he's someone that has an advantage during this situation, and he decided he was going to share it with us. And, we're just the lucky restaurant that had that, got to enjoy that. I would not be surprised if, it's happened elsewhere. This guy's getting a lot of attention for the obvious reasons, but I want to make it very clear. All of our regulars, our community has been very supportive. We've got people that maybe didn't drop it in one sitting, but over the course of the self-containment period when dining's been banned, I've got regulars that have spent probably just as much over that time as this guy. So it's just the community's been really supportive, and I can't tell you how many people have come in here. Hey, we want to see you guys through this. How you doing? My answer is, we're just barely scraping by. We're just living one day to the next, or just barely surviving. I said, but that's my goal, is just to get to the other side of this. And everyone comes in here and they're just like, let's just get you by. Let's get you by. So real supportive community.
Wow. All right, let's dig in. You're meeting for probably the first time. This is Mr. David Hernandez, and he's the owner-proprietor of Frog and the Bowl in Austin, Texas. And as he's ramping up for his day of open operation of dining rooms, we thought it would be a good idea for Colorado to take a step inside the looking glass and see what's happening in another state as you're rebooting your restaurant. So we'll kind of go to you and some of the things that you've learned during COVID and how you've pivoted with your operations, and then we'll look at now and what you're doing. You're probably doing a meld of a few things now that you're able to reopen your doors. But COVID hits, and that's 8 weeks and 1 day ago when you probably shut your dining rooms down. Was it March 16th, a Monday, when your dining room was shut down?
Actually, on the 17th officially. We had gotten a pre-communication from the mayor's office indicating, that there was going to be an announcement on Tuesday the 17th. The gist of what was expected was in that pre-communication. It was pretty clear that they were gonna make a formal announcement to shut down restaurant services. To what extent, we didn't know. We kind of presumed what actually happened, that they would allow takeout and delivery, but shut down the dining. And in fact, that's what happened on the 17th. I still gripe about the fact that They could have waited at least one day for us to capture St. Patrick's Day sales, which, by the way, are one of the busiest days for bars and restaurants. But then again, maybe that's why they did it. So anyhow.
You're like me. I can't sit still.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I tell you what, I'll grab a seat, and that'll keep me from moving around.
Oh, you're good, man. No sweat. We just want to catch up and shoot the breeze and see what's going down over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so during this, you're open for a cup of coffee, right? Your original opening was in November of last year?
Yeah, we opened up mid-November of last year. Is exactly right. So we're a pretty new restaurant. I mean, when this all hit, we were only 4.5 months old. Now, now we're pushing the 6-month mark.
So very interesting time to have to lean on your community when you're just, you're in the infancy of being an open restaurant. So here you are, 4 months. I think I'm doing the math right. 4 or 5 months, and you have to shut your doors down. A lot of the inclination for some of the operators here in Colorado were just to shut the doors and not do any takeout or curbside. You decided to do takeout and curbside.
Yeah. It was an easy decision for me. I mean, I personally believe those restaurant owners that shut down completely, did not make any attempt to do takeout and delivery, made a huge strategic mistake. There's some models that don't allow for that, but most business models, probably allow for that in some shape or form. And the reason I think they made a huge error is I think they're going to have a heck of a time getting reopened when they're allowed to do so. Even many of the restaurants, I would say not just many, I would say most, maybe even the overwhelming majority of the restaurants that have been granted, like the rest of us, 25%, have not opened up. We are actually only a small number have opened up, a small percentage. And I think part of it is due to the error, in my opinion, what's an error of shutting down all the way. So when it happened for us, for example, I was actually out of town when the pre-communication came out. It was the first time I've taken off of the restaurant since I opened it. We were just finally getting to that spot where I was confident enough to do that. My family wanted to get some long overdue time in with me. So we went to South Padre on the coast here just for a couple days to get away. And, my crew, my head chef, sent me that pre-communication on Monday. And his first, his first notion was, shut down and reassess. And I did not hesitate at all. I sent him a text immediately. I said, F no, stay open, move forward. And then I thought about it for maybe 90 seconds. And I think I sent him another text right after that saying, you've got 24 hours to come up with a takeout and delivery menu. I will review it when I get back in time tomorrow night. So I did just that. I got back into town on Tuesday after it had been formally announced. I got back early evening. We went over the menu. At first glance, it was acceptable to an extent. Something puzzled me about it. I kind of woke up the next morning and realized that our first go at it wasn't going to work given the conditions. So I gave them another 24 hours to come up with a new menu, gave them some better guidance on that from the first round after sleeping on it and thinking on it. And then they came back with a kick-ass takeout and delivery menu. But, I mean, my marching orders were, we've got to turn the restaurant into one badass food truck without wheels overnight. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we did. We reinvented ourselves, over 2 nights technically. And then it was it wasn't done. It's still not done. We've still been evolving and learning. And now with the dining ban being lifted, we've got to adapt again. I mean, it is a welcome problem, but it is still a problem to be managed. We're caught between 2 operating modes right now, and neither of them are strong enough to stand on their own. And both of them have completely different market characteristics and concerns. So transitioning this period right now is going to be interesting. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I'm just one of those oddball personalities that thrives in situations like this, but for most people, they'd rather do without it.
Yeah. What's your background? How long have you been in the business for?
I've only been in, well, I mean, the restaurant opened up, like we talked about, mid-November. I've been pursuing this restaurant dream for the last couple of years, from when you first start the clock. Prior to the restaurant business, long story short, I spent about 11 years in corporate America, was unhappy with it. As try as I might, I could never find my niche, and finally threw in the towel. And decided, quite candidly, I decided I wanted to go back to my blue collar roots. I felt that's where I was the happiest, but I also wanted to do my own thing, own my own business. I've always wanted that. Prior to that, I was in the Navy. I was in the SEAL teams, and the restaurant business is nothing like the SEAL teams, except for the similarity between that, and this is where corporate America didn't work out for me. It is more hands-on. You're seeing the results of your efforts in front of you. You're not stuck in a cubicle where everything's an abstraction. So it is more, it's more fulfilling for me in that regard.
Gotcha. Let's talk about the restaurant. It's a beautiful restaurant as we look around there. Nice bar, fantastic. Tell us about the seating, what your accommodations are, how many folks you have working for you, what the kitchen's like, patio. Just give us an overall idea of what you're working with.
Yeah, so we've got just shy of 100 inside. We've got a patio that will give us a quarter or more at least. I would say conservatively, we're 1 1/4 on total covers. We definitely have the potential to go above that. We've got a nice spot. We've got an end cap location in a nice, quaint little retail center. It's not overly commercialized. We're kind of inside of a neighborhood that's somewhat of a destination location, but not, not to any extreme. We're very close to high traffic thoroughfare and stuff like that. So from a tactical standpoint, we're actually sitting in a pretty decent spot. So our game is an upscale casual game. We run that both in the ambiance that we're trying to provide for, as well as the quality of the food, the product we're putting out. Hold on one second. I actually have a customer that just walked through the door.
Sure.
Are you trying to pick something up right now?
No. We just bought a condo in here, and so we're just looking around, and I thought we could have lunch somewhere.
Come back at 4. I'm doing a live interview right now, so yeah, no problem. Thank you. Appreciate that.
4 o'clock.
Sorry about that. It figures.
No,
I got people blowing me up right when I'm trying to do an interview.
No, she's ready to dine. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We're looking around there. And so, all right, what's the temperature there? What are folks feeling? Are they feeling like, are you getting the sense from the people that have come to see you and dine? What are the restrictions? What are you working with? I understand Texas is allowing 25% capacity.
Yeah, 25% capacity inside. Patio is 100%. The limit on party size is 6. So we've got a pretty solid scheme on how we manage that, how to maximize our throughput on that. One advantage I have that probably most restaurant owners don't have, I have extensive training and experience in operations management. So I know I'm probably a little bit more technically advanced than most people in terms of how to time the throughput, the flow, and all that sort of stuff, so that we're complying with the 25% limits, but we're also maximizing our capacity. And a big part of that is also maximizing our efficiency, or maximizing is probably not the right word, optimizing our efficiency, so that our back of the house in particular, our staff is not overwhelmed, which, by the way, that includes me because I'm wearing all hats right now. because COVID-19 forced me to furlough most of my employees. Before COVID-19, I had 19 employees. I had to reduce that down to a skeleton crew. So a skeleton crew for me meant 4 guys in the back, and then I was basically covering the entire front by myself. So what I did is I kept 3 cooks, and I moved my bar manager to the back to help with the cooks, and then I took over the front of the house. And I strategically kept my bar manager on for a reason, because I knew once the dining ban was lifted, or potentially the takeout and delivery, because we do have cocktails to go and stuff like that, potentially the takeout and delivery demand could get high enough to where I needed to pull him to the front. So I needed that kind of versatility. So strategically, I decided it would be 3 cooks. He would supplement them in the back, and then I would cover the front. And then since we've opened up, we've been scrambling to pull our people back in. That is one of the reasons why I say that businesses that shut down completely made a huge strategic error in my part. They are going to have a hell of a time restaffing. And so when this happened, it was a speculation on my part, wisdom, if you want to call it. But my wisdom was that I need to keep a skeleton crew, and that was defined on what is the minimum size operational crew that I'm going to need when the dining ban is lifted. And I speculated it would be, escalated, something like it's being done now, 25% first. The word on the street is we'll go to 50% on the 18th, although there's no guarantees with that. So we'll just have to kind of ride it out and see.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so folks that are joining us, this is David Hernandez. He's the owner-operator of Frog and the Bowl. They were in the news. I got a news piece talking about a Texas restaurant patron stuns with a $1,300 tip. If you dig into the story, it's much, much more than that. He doubled his bill, and just a very generous person. And I'm hoping that's exactly what we're going to see as we start to reboot or reopen our restaurants here in Colorado. This is Austin, Texas, where we're talking right now, and just kind of seeing what it's like in-house, in the dining room. As you get to start this back up, when to stop going to the gym is very easily, but to go back after months of not going to the gym, it's very difficult, just like a restaurant, to start getting going again with food costs and other costs that you incur. How are you doing with that? Do you have a pared down menu, or are you using a couple of proteins and various vegetables and doing variations, or are you back to your full menu?
Kind of all of the above, actually. It's been crazy. So when we first went into our takeout and delivery, the menu was created with a strong influence, with a primary concern of how do we utilize our existing stock, right? Because we have that, that stock is trapped value. To replace it or switch is a huge cost. So we did just that. We leveraged our stock to the best of our ability. However, that sounds like an obvious statement, but it's not always that easy, because you've got to sell something at the end of the day. And if your stock isn't convertible with the new conditions, if it's not relevant to takeout and delivery, that's easier said than done. So we did have some growing pains. They weren't major ones, but there was a bit of a learning curve on how to convert our stock into a menu that's relevant given the current conditions. In the beginning of this interview, that's why I said I had to send my team back to the drawing board for an additional 24 hours, because the first menu they came out with was the framework that I gave them was not strong enough, in the sense that, we were still trapped in the framework of our prior service, which we're an upscale casual place. We never had takeout and delivery. So our menus designed that way. So I really had to shatter that framework of thinking for them. And then once we did that, we were able to repurpose that stock. But so we did that, and as a result of evolving and competing in a new market space, that stock has evolved with it and take on a slightly different shape. So, however, we've played it very smartly, in the sense that we've tried not to lose that leverage too much. And so, in anticipation of going back to our normal menu, so we've actually played that pretty smartly and we're going back to our our normal menu, pretty painlessly. I mean, there's always going to be some growing pains, but it's all been carefully thought out as far as that goes.
You must have treated your vendors right. Because that's a big part of restarting is how well the vendors were treated and how well that you were able to get payment to them and just making sure that everything is on the up and up with that. So congrats on that. As far as when people come in and they want to sit down, did you go to a reservation system? Are people waiting in their cars to be called in? Can you seat a party of 10? Can I say, okay, David, I got a party at 10. Sit us down. What does that look like?
So we don't have a mandatory reservation system. We highly encourage it. However, I've done the math and I've done the scheming of how to seat and time tables and stagger things accordingly. And so we have a very strict seating plan. So for example, there may be only 1 or 2 slots at 6 p.m., right? And if you come in and if the 6 p.m. slot is taken, you're not getting sat until the next available slot. So for us, they're staggered 10 minutes apart. So that's rarely been an issue, to be honest with you. So that's one way we're managing it is things are strictly schemed out to maximize our throughput and optimize our efficiency. And that staggering of when people are seated is one of them. The other thing is, for example, on the few occasions we have had parties over 6, for example, we had some regulars come in the other night and we just simply put the adults together at one table and the kids together at one table. And by the way, they were very happy to do that. So
okay, cool.
There's tricks around that, right?
David, how about the bar seating? I see your seats sitting there. You didn't have to pull one out in the middle and who's the bar police to go? Are you two together or not? Or do you have to have separation? How are you dealing with the bar area itself?
Yeah, the bar areas, we're just kind of playing it by ear. It's pretty obvious, the bar's usually couples or less, right? So it's obvious when somebody walks into the door together, they're together. So people are just naturally kind of taking a seat where they'd like to seat, and when they're followed by someone else, that person is naturally kind of going to their own space. So it hasn't been an issue. We haven't had to referee it. And part of the reason the seating, the staggering element of the seating system is important is to facilitate that so that people can, so there's lots of optionality there. So it hasn't been an issue so far.
How about face masks on servers or patrons? And I know Texas is one of the places where it's not mandatory. What have you elected to do?
Yeah, so all of us in the front of the house have face coverings. My servers in particular are wearing them, almost all the time, more or less. The only time they're really dropping them is if they're off the table at a distance, kind of in the back, so to speak. They're just getting some fresh air. Sure. But when they're approaching the table, they're undercover for the most part. Most of the patrons coming in here are not wearing face masks. Anyone who's asked me about it, and I've even made this comment on social media, it's not required, but it's recommended you have one with you. But I'll tell you, the people that are visiting us are of similar mind. I mean, most of the people coming out right now, they're not fearful of coronavirus. Most of them have a very hedged attitude about it, in the sense that they take this situation seriously, but a lot of them have a common sentiment that there's a substantial element of hysteria involved. So yeah. Most people that are coming out don't have those fears. I presume that if you're really truly scared about coronavirus, you're not coming out yet.
Yeah.
So, and actually, us wearing face masks has been a little bit. I've actually had some reservations about it because, to be quite honest with you, I can tell it's a turnoff for our customers. They don't like it. They don't agree with the fear aspect of it. They're willing to take the risk, and it's really kind of. Some of them have hinted that it's more or less a turnoff. So we're doing it just to play it safe and kind of stay politically correct on it. And make no mistake, I do take it serious. I don't want to come across wrong, but there's definitely mixed feelings about it.
Sure. Well, let's just one or two more for you. Let's look into the real world, and the real world dictates liability. What are you doing to lessen your liability as far as releases or anything from your customers or your employees? What are you doing to release yourself of liability in case somebody does pinpoint coronavirus to your business?
I mean, you can only do so much. There's no way to eliminate that down to zero. But I mean, it's a bunch of it's a lot of everything. It's all the little stuff that adds up. So, for example, I sanitize this restaurant at least 2 or 3 times daily. I mean, I'm talking like top to bottom, all surfaces with disinfectant and whatnot. Plus, in addition to that, after every transaction, we're disinfecting the tables that we're sat at and all that sort of stuff. We're doing things like, for example, we're an upscale casual place, so our tables are normally preset. It just takes the ambiance up to a different level when you do that. We have a style of setting that we put on that adds to that that experience that we're trying to present, that level of refinement and sophistication. So, but we've abandoned that temporarily. We don't bring the dishes out until there's someone at the table, so that there's less chance of contamination on dishes from the air, through air passage and whatnot. We've got hand sanitizer, throughout the restaurant for people to, an easy reach of people to wipe their hands down, including wipes, like disinfectant wipes for surfaces and things like that. So, we're pretty religious about our cleanliness. And plus, the simple fact of the matter is, I know a lot of people get scared about some of the notions of this, but I'll be honest with you. I mean, our hands are in and out of sanitizers and sinks with clean. I mean, even without coronavirus, we're extremely hygienic when it comes to things like that. I mean, it's that stuff is taken extra seriously with coronavirus, but it's natural for the industry to practice those sorts of things anyway.
Yes, sir. Last one for you. Touch points, minimizing touch points. Have you moved off of into a paper menu or a touchless menu or something on a screen? What are you doing to minimize touch points, if anything?
Yeah, we've got paper menus, and they get trashed out. They're printed out, and they get trashed after, people use them. So they're disposable. I had some laminated menus that I had created initially so that we could wipe them down and sanitize them and whatnot. Just coincidentally, there was some changes to the menu. So rather than relaminating a bunch of new menus, we came to the realization there was going to be we still had things are still a moving target. So our menu's evolving, and so there's enough changes in front of us that I decided it was a waste of time spending on laminating menus. It's just easier to print them out cheaply and dispose of them for the time being.
It's good to see you doing this, man. You seem like you're doing a great job, truly. And
Thank you.
Letting us take a peek inside before dinner service. And I know you got to get going because you're double timing it. And we hope you get back to some sort of normalcy. And just as getting into this business right now, you're probably wondering to yourself a couple of times, did I sign up for this? But sure looks like you're up for the challenge.
Yeah, no, we're in it to win it, and we will. We've been scrapping for our survival and just getting by, but I do think that those that stayed in the fight will be rewarded for it in the long run. So I'm excited about that.
For sure. One takeaway from this is do what you can. Tip more. Give more if you can. Restaurants and bars truly appreciate it. And opening up your doors right now, what a cool thing. It gives us optimism that, let's take a breath and we might get back to things here shortly. So thanks for spending some time with us on this Tuesday afternoon. David Hernandez, Frog and the Bowl. Look him up on Facebook. Like him. And when you're in the Austin area, go see him. Go check out the restaurant.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Seems like an interesting guy. And Jared Leonard in the background there. Jared, I don't know. Can you hear us, Jared?
Yeah, I'm here.
What do you think
Got
of
me?
all that? That was a great interview right there, and kind of just a peek inside the looking glass. Interesting things are happening, but they are happening, right?
Yeah, I think it's, I agree with a lot of what he said. I think that giving every effort you have instead of quitting is super important during this period. I understand there's a variety of reasons that people closed altogether, but the folks who, we've been working 7 days a week since the day this was announced. We didn't take a day even to regroup. We just, you got to keep trying. That is the name of the game in restaurants, is problem solving, troubleshooting, being quick on your feet, and never quit.
It is American Craft Beer Week, May 11th through the 17th. Do what you can to support your local brewery or they go away. Jennifer Hulan standing by. We'll get her into the conversation. That's the voice of Jared Leonard from SSC Hospitality. That last interview brought to you by A-Plus Beverage Solutions, and A-Plus Beverage Solutions doing what they can to get your tap lines ready, Jay. That's what you got to do.
Yes, sir.
Get your tap lines ready. You don't want that beer sitting in your tap lines for months and weeks on end. And Jeff Rourke can do it for you. $10 per line, man, or add a line. While you're down and getting ready to get ready, pouring inefficient beer does what for you, Jay?
It pours your money down the drain.
Don't pour your money down the drain. Just get a hold of Jeff Rourke and A-Plus Beverage Solutions. It's an easy phone call away, and he'll help you out. 720-272-3809. 720-272-3809. Jeff Rourke and A-Plus Beverage Solutions coming up. Jennifer Hulan right now, Water's Edge Winery. Welcome to the Modern Eater Show. It's been a while. Yeah, it's like
I
Jay,
was not unmuted.
That's right. Unmute Jennifer. Jennifer, and this segment brought to you by Aspen Baking Company. Thanks for joining us in Studio Kitchen, Colorado. This is kind of your first time with us.
This is my first time at this location. Yeah, we haven't seen you in a couple of years.
Yeah,
Used to advertise with you.
Yes, you did, and we miss you.
Thanks. Well, we've missed you guys as well. I just texted my winemaker husband, Chad, and he said, "What is Greg looking at? A spider on the ceiling?"
Yeah,
I showed him the picture. Yeah, the TV.
I'm looking up at Jared Leonard.
Great.
And Jared's going to stop by. Water's Edge has been in the news as of lately. What's going on over there at Water's Edge, and why are you in the news, Jennifer?
Oh, boy. Yeah, so I'm a little bit of a rabble-rouser.
Yes, you
Public
are.
enemy number one locally.
Okay.
So we, when all of this stuff hit, same story that we just heard. It was right on, I think the 16th is when we closed down, or the 17th is when it was formally closed down. We're a winery and a bistro. A big portion of our business is dine-in, and but we do, because we're a winery, we also do offer, bottles to go, that sort of thing.
Off University and
Right at the corner of Arapahoe and University,
Yep.
or Arapahoe and Vine.
Sure.
Yep, right across from the streets of South Glen. So anyway, we initially closed down, right? They kind of felt like the world paused for a minute, and nobody knew what this was or what was going on, and there was a lot of scary data coming out. So we actually did shut down for a week, just to kind of take a minute. And honestly, I'm a small business owner. I've been doing this. That was our 5th anniversary, was the very next week. We were going to do a big party. So it was nice to just have a week off, spent some time with my husband,
Sure.
and that was nice. By the end, though, it was like Divorce City if we don't get back to work.
Let's do something there.
Got to get back to work. So we had been meeting, and I had been working wine and bottling wine, labeling. I mean, we were still working, but I just wasn't open to the public yet. And then we were retooling to figure out, because we didn't do to-go. We didn't have takeout. We certainly didn't do curbside or glasses of wine to go. So we really had to rethink how this was going to work. And, so we did that. We reopened the following week, and for about 3 weeks we did curbside and takeout. And we took a huge financial hit. It was less than half of what we had done previously. So during that time, I have a lot of family members that are in the medical community, a lot of wine club members that had been coming in, and I was noticing, why aren't you guys wearing masks? Because they're telling us gloves and masks and that sort of thing. And the feedback I got was masks are bad for you. We shouldn't be wearing them. Gloves, unless you're literally a medical person and you're changing them between every single thing you're touching, you're just cross-contaminating. And I watch people come in and use gloves and use their credit card and put their credit card away and then go back in their car still wearing the same gloves. And I thought, gosh, from a logic standpoint, this doesn't seem like a healthful idea. I'd rather see people using hand sanitizer or washing their hands, So during that time, I decided, we weren't getting any feedback, and we just kept getting pushed out and kept getting pushed out by our government here. And
who were you searching feedback from?
We had Tri-County Health. I'm a part of Arapahoe County, so Tri-County Health, the CDC, the WHO, where there's all this data coming in. And I think initially we heard millions of people were going to die from COVID. And that's scary, right? That's a really big number, and that's a lot of people, and that's why everybody is kind of shut down initially. But as data started rolling in over those 3 weeks, I'm looking at this data and analyzing it and talking to people and saying, this just doesn't seem like what's happening. And it was during that time when there was the big outbreak in New York and over in Italy. And so that was a big, kind of freak out moment, I think, for people. But then we started looking around and going, it's not that bad. I think only 13,000 people have tested positive here in Colorado. Now, granted, we haven't done a lot of testing, so I'm guessing that my employees all had it back in January. Everybody was sick.
I have to figure that there were a lot of business owners that may have had the same sentiment, but still would like to play by the rules.
Right.
You disconnected at that point in time?
Well, no, so we're not quite there yet in the story. So hold on, don't jump ahead.
Story so far.
Yeah, so looking at that stuff, I was reaching out. What's going on here? This doesn't seem to be making sense. And the constitutionality of shutting down small businesses with an order and not a law.
Wait, but if you tell the story, you can't soften it or set it up to where you're positioning yourself. Tell the story, and then let's talk about why your thought process was.
That's exactly what my thought process was
at the time.
At the time, is I feel like as a free person and as an American citizen, I have certain rights. Our Constitution in Colorado ensures that we have certain rights. The initial order from the governor here in Colorado specifically reads. I don't have it with me, but I'm going to paraphrase, but the gist of it is businesses must close down unless, there's a big comma and a pregnant pause, unless they need to be open to keep their assets safe and their businesses safe. Well, if you look at that term right there, that wording right there, to me, if I analyze that, to keep my assets safe, well, I'm about to lose my home. My home is attached to my small business loan, right? It's my collateral. Everything we've worked for, 5 years you were with me in the early days. Yeah. We barely made any money. We finally got to the point where we're starting to make money, and all of it could go away. And so that's where we are on May 1st. So we'll get to that part of the story. So May 1st, I'm looking at that, and I say, if I don't open my doors, and mind you, this is with the blessing, if you will, of my community members, with some political people in the community. I'm not going to name any names, but people that were still coming in and hanging out and waiting, hey, can I just have my glass of wine while I'm waiting for my to-go food? So the sentiment of the public, a lot of my neighbors we're ready for this to be open. We're starting to look at talking to a couple of police officers that had come in. How's crime, what's going on now? And they said, crime's actually kind of down because people are staying home. But what's up is domestic abuse, child abuse. And unfortunately, people aren't reporting child abuse as much because it's educators or teachers that are on the front line of reporting that sort of thing. So I heard from a lot of teachers, I'm worried about these students. There's a handful of them that, we are the ones that make sure they are fed. We're the ones that make sure that they're healthy and happy. So my concern is we need to push forward. So back up from May 1st, about 2 weeks before that, there was a rally down at the Capitol following Michigan's rally. I forget the name of it. Was at Gridlock, Operation Gridlock, right, where people were driving around. Some people were out and walking around. And, I'm a bit of a rabble-rouser. I'm an activist in myself in terms of personal rights and human rights. Individual rights, property rights. So I went down there and I checked it out and checked to see, what is this about? And it's our right to petition our government and talk to them when there's a problem going on. So anyway, so we're down there, and somebody handed me a brochure, and it said, hey, on May 1st, we're going to get together as a group, all of us small businesses, and we're going to reopen. They called it Operation May Day. And, I prayed on that. I talked to my husband. We consulted one another. We consulted financial people. We consulted health people. What can we do to open our restaurants? And yes, it went against the governor, but that's not why I did it. I wasn't trying to be a criminal. I wasn't trying to be argumentative or even fight. What I was trying to do is save the health of my business, the health of my employees, including their financial health. I've got people that they are their sole income earners in their family. One of them's putting herself through college. Another one, she's thousands of miles away from home. She doesn't have anybody to be here to back her up or to help her. If she can't put food on her table, she starves, right? So during the time when we were closed and just doing pickup and drive-through, that sort of thing, I was throwing a little extra money into the tip jar for them without their knowledge and trying to help them out. I offered to feed any hungry neighbors in the neighborhood right behind us if anybody needed anything. So handing out toilet paper, because, as a restaurant, a lot of us, we stock up all the time. So when everybody was freaking out and taking all the toilet paper, we had some. So I helped anywhere I could there. When we first shut down that first week, we had a lot of food that's active. I know restaurant owners know you've got, food that's made or partially made, parboiled, par-baked. And we finished it off and then donated it to some of the needy neighbors in the hood behind us. So anyway.
So people are probably saying, okay, Jennifer, all that stuff sounds great, but how'd you get in trouble?
Well, so on May 1st, I rented some barriers. I set up an outdoor patio in my back parking lot. I enclosed it so I can do what I like to call extreme social distancing. I took almost all of my tables out of my winery and put them out in the sun because what I had been hearing is the heat, the outdoors, the UV light, it all kills viruses, right? I think we all know that if you know anything about the medical community. So I set up an outdoor bistro. I limited my front patio to 3 tables. Indoors, I had 5 tables that were extremely apart. I mean, we're talking at least 15 feet apart, not even just the 6 feet that they're telling us. We got stations of all kind of hand sanitizer and extra cleaning. We spent a week scrubbing every surface in there that can be scrubbed and preparing for this, and we launched. And so we opened our doors that day, and we opened fully. And there we are. So that's why I'm in trouble.
What did it look like?
In terms of?
Attendance.
So we had a huge attendance. It was one of my biggest days. People coming in and out, people driving by, honking their horns, people giving us a thumbs up. And speaking of, the earlier gentleman that had that really wonderful tip. I mean, my girls paid their rent that day from the tips that people left to say thank you for standing up for our rights, right? These are business owners that came to support me, people from the neighborhood that came to support me that just believe that it's time to open up. And once again, we were told, we're going to open on the 8th, but here we are, what is today, the 12th, and we're still not open for restaurants. So we had seen that date being pushed out, but the data didn't seem to be supporting what we were being told and what we and what I found out recently. I don't know if a lot of people out there know that, but at the airport and at hospitals, there are restaurants open. So that means there are other businesses like mine that have been given some kind of guideline. And here's how to keep your people safe and happy and be able to stay in business. But places like mine, breweries, any kind of dine-in restaurant have not been given any of that information. So.
What did you figure the outcome would be? What you saw happen?
Yeah, basically. I was prepared for that. That's part of the discussion
what were the
Chad and I had.
repercussions?
So after, day 1, I got a call from the health department.
So no police came that day?
No police
Didn't
came that day.
shut you down?
Correct.
Kick your head in?
It was just a, hey, why are you guys open kind of call. Then day 2 was a Saturday, so we didn't hear from anybody. So it was really nice and pleasant.
Did media inquiries start to come in?
Not yet. Day 3 was now a Tuesday because we were closed on Sunday and Monday. Just because of the COVID, we've lessened our hours. And day 3 was another phone call from the health department.
Now, day 3, were you still operating the same way, or was
Correct.
that a one-day event?
No, we were open.
You were open?
Yeah, I was open. I wasn't planning on closing.
Was the attendance still the same through day 2?
Day 1 was a really big, almost like a rally. So, people did go by and see that there were a lot of people out on that back patio and, people with American flags and people very excited about it, people driving by honking horns, that sort of thing. So it was...
How about the other end of the spectrum? Any naysayers Has anybody come by? And
there are a few. Nobody came by. We're kind of in a weird time where
Sure.
people like to be keyboard warriors, and so I was getting a lot of flack on my social media,
Sure.
of course. A couple of phone calls.
Did they hit you hard on your Facebook and your
They
reviews
did.
and
They
that kind
did.
of thing?
Nothing in the reviews. I got a couple of negative ones, but it was silly things like I had posted a picture of our to-go flatbread, and it's just a beautiful picture of food, right? And they're like, that probably has COVID on it.
So
that
you're
kind of
not
stuff.
buying that what's happening right now is for public safety?
Ask me that in a different way. I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
What you're seeing right now with the federal, state, and local mandates that are
Of
happening.
shutting it down.
There's a lot of nuances, and today is going to look different than tomorrow, and yesterday looks different than today, and it's constantly changing.
Right.
You're not very tolerant with those changes in the name of public safety.
No, I don't like the way you're asking that, because you're making me sound like I'm intolerant of being publicly safe. Understand that as restaurants, I think everybody listening right now and the people on listening in,
Sure.
if they're restaurant owners, we all fall under the purview
Sure.
of the health department.
Sure.
We're responsible, just like if you go to Walmart today. Can you go into Walmart?
Yes, you can.
Can you go into Home Depot?
Sure. Let me rephrase that to
Okay.
make it a little more palatable. Do you believe that everybody individually should figure out what public safety means to them?
Yes.
And employ that? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe in personal choice. I'm a choice girl,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you are comfortable, if you feel like you have it, or if you're not afraid of it, or if you want to wear a mask, if you want to stay home, if you're not prepared because you don't feel like the information out there is comfortable, making you feel comfortable. Like I said, I've surrounded myself with people that are in the medical community, and what I'm seeing is not what I don't think the numbers are adding up to what we were told they were going to be.
What would make you feel uncomfortable? Would a large public gathering, say a concert or an event?
Personally, no.
Yeah, that wouldn't make you.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't throw a large.
Would a Mardi Gras make you feel uncomfortable?
I'm
just
love
wondering.
a Mardi Gras
Right now?
Yeah. Well, why not? Throw
Well,
some
I don't
beads
know.
out. No, I don't know. I'm not. No, I think you're asking me silly questions because it has nothing to do with my tiny little 2,500 square foot winery.
Well, that's what I'm
I
wondering
am
is
responsible.
how does your 2,500 square foot
Yeah.
tiny little winery, how is that going to make an impact on how other people are going? Because you obviously did it for a statement.
Nope.
You didn't.
I did it because my
purely to
business
survive?
my business is potentially going to close its doors for good.
There's a lot of businesses that are pivoting and actually doing very well right now
Are
with
they?
those pivot points. I've seen-
Restaurants?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Because I'm hearing a bunch of them closing. I've heard of Sweet Tomatoes just closed locally. I mean, you just mentioned how many 60%
I've seen a
of
couple
breweries.
of new pop-ups that have happened.
What's a pop-up?
Like a pop-up restaurant. Like a new concept. Say you took Water's Edge Winery and say, I have a really great idea and I have a food license.
Okay.
I'm going to do this pop-up that's not going to be here forever, but maybe it's a concept that would be added revenue in a different way and marketed
How would
differently.
that be done differently than opening my business, I guess, would be my question. Because I'm not exactly sure, because
Sure.
you're still inviting people to come and
Sure.
dine.
But
whether
within the
they're-
parameters of what's laid out.
Well, the
from-
parameters don't cover that.
Yeah.
So having an outdoor
you're-
patio would be similar to what you're saying, and that's what we attempted,
Now-
but we were shut down.
An outdoor patio in what sense? I'm not following.
Well, you're
you.
saying a pop-up. I'm
Oh,
picturing...
no. A pop-up concept, meaning that this is just a new concept that's popping up. They're called pop-ups. So
I guess I'm
so
familiar
they're-
with like pop-up boutiques, like where people come to my
Sure.
winery and then they put up their little store and people can come and shop. And that's, I guess, what I'm thinking that you're saying.
Oh, similar to that, but just a different concept that would be more conducive to go. Maybe sandwiches or
We do
different
that.
items.
We do to
Yeah.
go. Like I said,
Yeah.
we did it for 3 weeks. We're still doing it now. We're back open.
You're back open.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, and this is what I find fascinating about it is that there's a disconnect that's happening right now from what is being said to be public safety as a mandate for all of us to do, and then other people choosing to do what they would like to do. That's where my thought process or my disconnect is, because
Sure.
there's a lot of things that obviously I don't approve of
Right.
with the stay-at-home or certain things, not seeing my mother. I don't know whether that's the right thing or wrong thing to do. And
You haven't seen your mother?
I've seen her from a distance.
You don't go visit
And
her?
I do, but we sit distance apart.
Oh.
And I do believe into the science of what happens in an outbreak.
Okay.
That's not the point. The point is there has to be some sort of civil order. There has to be. And you're seeing CNC who just got crushed.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, you
I was
were
there.
there. And actually, part of that, isn't there a group of folks that get together and kind of plan openings so that, if we're stronger as a whole or as business owners unite to open on their own accord, that the hopes were that there would be a less of a blow, that they can't basically take all of us and reprimand us, that we're stronger in numbers. Wasn't that the mindset? But CNC kind of was left out on an island opening alone. How did that work?
Well, I opened alone.
I know you did,
Yeah.
which is a scary proposition.
I mean...
Well, you're putting yourself out on an island with your business
freedom
that's
isn't for the
attached to your
faint of heart.
mortgage.
Yeah, freedom's... Well, I mean, again, I'm going to reiterate.
Yeah.
My house is attached to my small business loan. If my business goes under... Well, what does
but
that
it
look
can
like?
go under in many ways. It can
Sure.
be taken from you.
Right, so you understand
give it
when
away.
you have nothing to lose,
Yeah.
you have a little bit more freedom to be
Completely.
brave.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I
and
get
that's
that.
kind of the position we were in.
Yeah.
Right? My house is on the line. My business could very likely close.
Mm-hmm.
My people could starve. And so I have a
Was
responsibility.
it just time, or was it a health thing? Like, do you just throw everything into the wind and say, I just don't believe in any of this and I'm going to cut my own
No.
road? Or was it just time for you?
Just again, I'm going to say one more time, I have surrounded myself with medical community. I'm not willy-nilly going off to try to hurt people. My motivation was based on a lot of consideration and thought and the health of our community. Health isn't just physical health in terms of are you going to get this COVID-19? Health is financial health. Health is mental health, right? All of these things. And here's my point. I think people should have the right to make those decisions for themselves. And right now, we had unelected bureaucrats making those decisions, but not providing any data on why. So again, I can go to Walmart, I can go to Home Depot, and I can spend an afternoon shoulder to shoulder with a whole bunch of people, and nobody seems to be worried about that. But a little tiny restaurant like mine, trying to social distance and use UV light and outdoors. I mean, you've been to my place. It's nothing but windows, so
Right.
sunlight everywhere.
Sure.
Opened all sets of doors, so
Yeah.
there's a great cross breeze. And on top of that, the health department's already in my world. So knowing how to keep people safe and protected while they're in my establishment is literally the backbone of my job. So allow what we were saying is, hey, health department, allow us to do and use the information you've given us as restaurant owners to say, give us some guidelines, not I said this morning, not jail time and steep fines. Give me some guidelines. I'm responsible just like the restaurant at the airport, just like the restaurant
what do
at
you do when
the
they say
hospital.
you'll get the guidelines, but they're on the 25th? And listen, Jennifer, make no mistake, Jennifer Hulan here with us, Water's Edge Winery, in a great spirited conversation. I think the frustration lies deep in a lot of business owners that say, hey, listen, I don't have that type of bankroll in my back pocket to hang on to my business, and I'm an inch away from throwing the keys in on the table and telling the landlord to come get the property, because that's just where it is right now. What concerns me is that a lot of times, left to your own devices, and this is where the sticky wicket comes into play, government versus freedom to do what you'd like to do in life. There's got to be some sort of order. There just has to be, because a lot of times people don't make great decisions. That's just the way it is. And I've never in my 48 years seen an outbreak like this that has shut down our office, and I'm assuming that you're a President Trump fan, person, voter.
Why would you assume
right?
that?
Because I know you.
Well, I don't think you know me well then.
You're not.
Well, I'm not here to talk about my political leanings.
No,
but
I get that. Well,
you and I know each
very,
other well.
You're very politically.
I am conservative, if that's what you want to know.
Sure, you're
yes.
very political. President Trump would not shut down his economy that he adores so much if there wasn't something to this. You would agree with that?
I don't really want to surmise on President Trump, because you
Would you
understand
agree
that
with
this is
that?
a
Would you
dangerous
agree with
topic.
that?
I'm not going to.
Would you agree
I'm not
with
going to
that?
comment on
Well,
that.
so there's no validity at all to where an outbreak of COVID-19 is a public safety issue. There's
No, of course, Greg. I think
but
think
you're
every
saying
year,
everything is blurred right now. You can
No.
go into a Walmart.
Right.
You can go into a grocery store.
Right.
COVID's not going in there. Which businesses were selected? Was it a divine selected? How did they do it? Restaurants were excluded from
Right.
that, obviously.
Right.
Is this just a spilt milk thing, or do you really truly believe that restaurants should have never been closed down or businesses never should be closed down? I'm just trying to understand, like, how much should be given to you as an individual. That's what I'd like to know from you. Because remember, there are other people out there that are looking at you as an example, whether a good example or bad example.
Sure.
So should we all say today, let's open our businesses?
Are you, I don't know. What do you think?
That's the question I'm asking you.
I know. Well, I don't
Do you-
have the answer for other people.
I think that you're going to get slapped the hell down and your liquor license taken from you, and these bureaucrats and these politicians and on a federal, state, and local level, they're going to call the shots. Now, there could be a bigger issue to that, but that's not the point here. I care about you and your business and your husband and your family, and you're putting yourself out on a limb right now with your business and everything that you're doing with a battle that is not going to be won.
Okay.
You're not going to win.
All right.
Neither are these small business people that want to open up as roads.
They will lose their homes.
Yes, they will.
Their
So
families
why
are gonna
do
go
it?
hungry.
Why do it then?
Why go into business?
Why open up your business knowing you're going to get slapped back and punished?
Because that's not who I am as a person.
Well, okay, there's the answer. You wanted to
you
jack...
said you know me. No, this is not about that. This is
What
not
is this about?
This is about standing up for your personal freedom and personal rights. And if I don't believe that a certain group of people can make decisions like big businesses and restaurants in certain places can be open, but I can't.
There's got to be some sort of public order. There just has to be.
But help me understand that. So you think it's okay that some businesses can be open and others can't, even though...
No, don't put those words in my mouth.
But that's what you just said.
It's confusing to me. But I'm
Right,
going to
I
play
know.
under play under the provisions of the guidelines.
Okay. So you don't question if you're given an order or told to do
Listen,
something.
that's
you
not a
don't
mountain I
question?
want to die on.
Okay. Well,
There's other mountains that I would die on.
we all have choices to make.
I know we do, and
We
it's
do.
an interesting choice that
you
you've
do
made.
understand what
Yeah.
and I think maybe you're conflating what I said. I'm going to go back one more time
Sure.
and say, if you have
Well,
nothing,
go back twice.
Well, hang on.
I mean,
if you've
3
got
times.
nothing left to lose,
Sure, I get
you're
it.
asking me why did I open?
You do have something to lose.
What?
Because your past is going to precede you. You're going to want to apply for a liquor license at another time. You're going to want another business license.
Maybe
no,
not.
Or so you're
I
just
don't
trying
know.
to get out of the game altogether?
Well, if you look at it from this standpoint, if my government, my local government here, doesn't respect me as an equal to the rest of my citizens, do I want to stay in a state that treats me that way? I don't know if I do. I don't know if I want to open another restaurant because I have bled, I have cried, I have laid awake at night. You know, because you're in this industry.
That's the bigger issue. Then.
Yes. So I have put everything I own, my entire retirement, into owning this business and my home on the line. I am 48 years old. What happens when it goes away? What are you going to do? Who's going to pay off my small business loan? Who's going to pay off my mortgage at home?
It's an interesting
Are you
choice
offering?
when you're.
Are you offering? That's what I want to know.
When you're backed up against the wall like that, that's an interesting choice to go down out in flames.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you rather go down fighting than just lay down and die?
I mean, like I said, it depends on whether I want to be back in the game or not.
Okay.
Me personally, if I was looking for a future in service industry or restaurants or bars, I probably wouldn't have made that decision.
Okay.
Because you put yourself out on an island, which is fine.
I know.
I mean, and God bless you. And probably if the organization of those groups or that group could have had 150 businesses.
So you keep talking about this group. You understand that this was a personal choice that I made.
I understand.
And
I saw an event page.
The young lady down. No, the event page
with
was just
4
about
different
opening
businesses on there.
Yeah, just saying, hey, let's get open. I mean, as business owners, we should band together, just like as musicians have.
I agree.
Right? We have plumbers all have a union, and people band together that have similar interests. So from a restaurant standpoint, there are a bunch of restaurant owners that talk and that are part of
Fight on, Jennifer. Quit. Stop talking, Greg. Stop interrupting her. Move on, Greg. Who's Stephanie?
I don't know.
Ensminger. Ensminger. Do you know Stephanie?
I don't personally.
Stephanie, I will
But
always
yay, Stephanie, rock on.
I will always let Jennifer talk.
That's what he says.
She's a very outspoken person. And listen, I'm not necessarily against how you feel. I'm against that you should know what will happen to you.
I get. Well, what makes you think I don't know what's going to happen?
Well, I don't know.
I got shut down. I am now reopened.
But
do you not understand? In the game of life, it's
Yeah.
like a game of chess. Sometimes you have to make bold moves.
Sure.
You got to stick your neck out. If you're going to be a business owner,
Yeah.
you can't just play the safe way. You don't start a business. You certainly don't start a restaurant if you're going to be safe. That is safety. Restaurants die every day, right? Tons of them.
Publicity stuff?
Really? You just said you know me.
In
You tell me.
radio, they do it all the time.
I'm not interested in publicity.
broadcasting-
I'm interested in freedom. I'm interested
freedom.
in personal
Do you
choice.
feel more free, Jennifer?
Today?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
How will you feel more free?
When I'm allowed to live my life without government intervention.
Shit, Mama, that's not going to happen in your lifetime.
Okay.
Or anybody's lifetime.
Well, okay.
Government
so
intervention.
I'm not, look, I don't want to turn into Soviet Russia. I don't want to go down the street and be in communist China. That's not where I want to live. I want to live based on how our country was founded, and that's individual rights and personal freedoms. And so we have a guarantee in our Constitution that says you're not more free than me. You're not more equal than I am.
Don't you think we're all trying right now?
I do, and I want more people to stand up for their rights and say, you know what, the data's not bearing out, and it's time to open up. It's time to get us back to work, because if our economy doesn't do well here in Colorado, the health of people, crime rates go up, people losing their homes around the streets, how is that healthy for our neighbors? So what if, I'm just going to ask you, what if this is not nearly as deadly as what they're saying it is? Because we don't know, right? We're still watching the data.
Well, it's not at this point.
Right.
But here's another what if. Because
we shut down and stayed at home?
We could do what ifs all the time.
Sure.
You know, what if your auntie had a penis? She'd be your uncle, right?
Yeah.
The what if that I'll give you is, what if by doing these types of things, of taking this into your own hands, causes another outbreak? And there's a spike in folks going to the hospital.
Well, let me ask you, how many people have had
you
it
don't
here?
Everybody knows that you don't do an answer or a question with a question.
No, this is serious, though, because you asked a very serious question.
What if you spurred an outbreak that day at Water's Edge when you reopened?
I went down to the Open Colorado rally.
Yeah.
Weeks before that, there's no outbreak. Nobody
that you know of.
No one. I think we would hear about it.
It's the unseen eminence.
Dude, let me ask you. This is very serious. You don't think that would be all over the news because people were angry that people were downtown without masks, holding signs, rallying? If there was a huge outbreak 2 weeks after that, it would be splashed all over the news. We'd be talking about it because that would be all we could talk about is look at these irresponsible people. But you know what? It didn't happen. Hospitals are 60% empty right now.
You're just not buying anything, are you?
No,
right now?
I'm just saying. One of my wine club members runs a hospital, and he comes in for to-go food, and I ask him, "Hey, man, tell me the real story because there's so much information out there, disinformation, wrong information."
Right, but I could find a doctor that says smoking cigarettes is fine for your health.
I doubt that. Not in 2020. I really doubt that.
I could probably find.
I highly
so
doubt
we're going to
that.
get somebody that's an expert that's going to say something about any position we would like to take.
Well, you're basing that on me saying one person. I told you half of my family are nurses. These are people that are on the front lines, and they are specifically dealing with COVID patients. My cousin in Michigan.
No big deal.
She's not. No, at no time did she say no big deal. She's a frontline nurse in an emergency room in a hospital. So no, of course not. That's not what she said. But you know what she said to me? She said, "Jen, it's time to get open. It's not what they're telling you it is." And Michigan is a hotbed.
I think the mortality rate's showing that. But we also have to. I know. You're being very kind. I'm trying to be very kind too.
I'm glad for that. Look, this is a very hot topic, and people are all over the board. And the most important thing is I'm not trying to be a martyr. I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm not trying to make a political statement. What I'm trying to do is base my decisions for what is best for me and my family and my employees and their families and our community. I don't think people are looking at the financial, the economic standpoint of this. We have a bunch of
What do you mean
medical
people aren't looking at that?
I'm saying they're not considering that with all of these shutdowns
Yeah.
and what they're telling us we need to be doing. I'm not 100% sure that shutting down the entire economy of the United States of America is the right solution to dealing with New York breakout, Michigan breakout. Every other place has had some, but those numbers are very close to what we've seen in terms of flu and different. Coronavirus has been around forever, right? It's an umbrella term for flu and virus and respiratory. I'm not on the front lines. I'm not a medical professional, but I'm smart. I'm a smart woman. I'm 48 years old, same as you.
Yeah.
Just turned yesterday, as a matter of
you?
fact. It was my
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Thank you. I can look at data. I can analyze data. I can surround myself with people that make good decisions, just like the president, just like anybody in office here, and make decisions based on that. And so what I did was I chose to be personally responsible, do what I felt was best for us and all of those people I just spoke about, including my community. And that's where we are. So I got shut down. I did have 4 police officers show up at my front door on day 5 with 2 people from the health department.
If there wasn't a health issue here, Jennifer, I'd say bully you. Do whatever you want.
Sure.
If it has to do with you and how you're conducting yourself and it's not hurting anybody else, do heroin. Sit in your basement all night long. Do whatever you want to in that sense with your personal life. But when I disconnect is when there's a potential where someone else could be harmed at your device.
The problem is that you're not considering is again, with the flu, let's say it does have the same kind of outbreak levels in terms of numbers as the flu. We don't shut down for that. We didn't shut down for H1N1. We didn't shut down for, what's the other ones? The avian flu. We had Ebola. We're talking millions of people got that stuff. Now I think we're right at 1 million, either nationwide or worldwide. I was just reading this morning. Less than 1,000 people in Colorado, or I think it was 1,300.
Well, at risk of asking people to put their tinfoil hats on now because there's a huge conspiracy out there and all of this is just fake and BS. And
this is not about conspiracy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
I get it, but it can go into there because a lot of people are saying, Jennifer, please just try and maybe hang on until the 25th. And if you need help from your community. We were told to hang on until May 8th. I get it.
And now it's gone again.
I know.
So what happens on the 25th when
I'm
they say we're still not ready?
And I'm asking those questions. And that's where I truly think assembly of people with greater minds together, organized. I just hate to see you out there on a limb by yourself doing this.
How are those people any different than me in making these kinds of decisions?
How are they different?
Yeah.
Well, because you know that numbers move the needle in politics.
Sure. Right. So why were you questioning all these people trying to get together to open their businesses?
I didn't say I'm questioning them. I'm
like
questioning you making the decision, doing this alone, and hurting yourself.
I wasn't trying to hurt myself, nor was I thinking that I was going to be alone. But, sometimes you rush into battle with and you're the one carrying the flag, and you turn around thinking you've got an army behind you, and sometimes you're out by yourself. But you know what?
Well said. Well said.
The reality of the situation is we need more people that are willing to stick their neck out and to be brave and to speak out and to stand up for themselves. It freaks me out to see people scared, the fear in their eyes when they walk next to a stranger in the stores now. That's not who we are as a society, and that's not the country I want to live in.
Damn it, this went on a long time. Jared Leonard, what did you hear? No, it's all good. Jared, what did you hear?
Jared, I wish I was on the beach with you.
Yeah, so...
not with you.
Not with you specifically, but...
I'm a nice guy. Why not? We're my kids and my wife. Everybody's here. We can all hang out. This is a replacement vacation for one we missed from Hawaii. Long story. Anyways.
Dangerous conversation, huh?
No, I don't. I think the opinions on both sides are valid, and I think that it's all a moving target right now. So, definitive answers aren't there, and that's tough. That's tough for everybody involved. So I think in a year we can look back with a lot of assurance about what the facts are and how it all played out, but in the meantime we're all kind of playing a waiting game, so it's tough. I understand both sides fully. Being a restaurant operator, also trying to be a practically minded thinker, like I take everything I hear, I research both sides, and I throw out half of the crap I hear on both extremes and then meet somewhere in the middle.
Well, no, I get that. I guess the deal is that a lot of people have a lot of different feelings right now, but taking action on your feelings is a very different thing right now. Jennifer took action. You may have feelings, Jared, but I'll guarantee you your back's not up against the wall like Jennifer's was. She said unequivocally, I have nothing to lose, right? You have a lot to lose, Jared. What's that?
Different business models. I got a lot to lose. She has a lot to lose. Everybody in the business has a lot to lose.
But would you take your strong opinions and put them out? I mean, I don't know, because I don't know how not to blow everything and everyone up. But you turn the microphones off, everybody has their opinion on how shitty they think this is and how there's an overreach of our rights, and everybody has an opinion on that. I just don't think that a lot of people, while we're kind of maneuvering our way through this, there's a certain amount of trust that we have to put our local and federal government, which is terrible because that's the time when you're exposed the most to being vulnerable. But I think a lot of people are suppressing those things and not acting upon it like Jennifer did. And that's the way that it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think right now, criticizing leadership definitely doesn't help. Criticizing the situation or being frustrated by the situation, absolutely. Our leaders are put there to make general decisions for everybody, and every single governor. So I'm in California right now, and huge marches, repeal Newsom, he's an asshole. In Illinois, where I have restaurants, repeal Pritzker, he's an asshole. Repeal Polis. So anybody I have not seen us hate where people like their leader right now, and that's actually too bad because they're the people with more information than us. And while I'm very non-political, I think you know that, Greg, but I would tell you, whoever's in charge, when they're in charge, I hope they do a good job, and I support them, and I roll with the punches because that's all I can do. Unless I'm willing to run for office, and I'm not. I don't want that mess.
As the military helicopter was going over the beach right there,
announcing people need to get off the beach. And just for clarification, Jared,
in San Diego, the beaches are open. There's not a face mask in sight.
Right.
There's like 800 cases in all of San Diego County. So I don't know.
So, and for clarification, just so we're clear, I don't hate Jared Polis. I don't have any ill feelings toward him. I am grateful that people step up. I don't think of them as leaders necessarily, but our people are representatives, right? They're elected representatives. But I don't envy him. I wouldn't want his job right now. I'll tell you that much. Don't hate on him. I don't hate on anyone. What I do not appreciate is not being brought to the table to be a voice in this discussion. We're left out in the cold. We're not given direction. We're not giving any actual open date. So at some point, how long do you go when your stuff's taken away from you? My rights, my freedoms have been taken away from me. And so without guidance, that's why I chose to take action instead of sitting back and waiting. That's all.
Yeah, the frustrating thing, and I hear you, and I wasn't saying you. I appreciate the clarification. I definitely wasn't saying you. I don't know you. And I don't think anybody who's frustrated is against our leaders, but some people clearly are. I think those are two different perspectives. But I would say, like in Illinois, it's worse than Colorado. Our governor just announced that the earliest restaurants can see anybody in their store is July 1st. The earliest. And that's if there's certain metrics made that are pretty unrealistic. So it doesn't even seem like that. Now, it doesn't seem like July 1st is even going to be a possibility. Now, am I saying that his decision is wrong? No, but to your point, the top restaurateurs in Chicago, from Let Us Entertain You, from Boca Restaurant Group, the guys who are in charge of millions of dollars of sales, hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax revenue, thousands of jobs, who have furloughed their thousands of employees, not a single one of them was involved in the conversation with the governor, nor was Sam Toya, the Illinois Restaurant Association president. Nobody from our professional industry in Illinois was involved in the conversations. So at that point, I'm like, those numbers are arbitrary because you may have some inside information, but you don't have our information from restaurants. So if you have some data about health safety and other things that we should know, sit at a table with the restaurant professionals and everybody make a decision together. Because to not understand what a pro forma looks like at 25% or 50%, it leaves a huge variable out of that algebraic equation. You can't solve the problem without all the variables, and they don't have the variable of the restaurant damage.
I think
to your point,
one way to
it should be more inclusive.
One way to address that is something that I'm considering is by expanding, because we're all right. My tiny little winery is 2,500 square feet, including production. So my actual dining space is not quite or it's a little over half that. And if they say 25%, but if I enclose a portion of my back parking lot, now I've more than doubled my restaurant size. I can still keep tables. And again, it's summer. Viruses die in the summer. The heat can't, they can't live on surfaces in heat and UV. We know this. This is fact. And so by having the ability to have a patio or an outdoor space, we can add, so if our government backs down and allows us to be creative and to find ways, again, give us the data, give us guidelines, and then let us go and put them into place. And so, yeah, we need 25% based on your capacity. Well, if I double my capacity, maybe now I'm at 50, 60% and I can survive, right? But right now, doing, a couple $100 a day and takeout pizza is not going to keep places like me alive. And unfortunately, one of the things that I don't think a lot of people are considering is our government is run on these tax dollars. If they start, we have 10,000, I think, small businesses in the city of Centennial where I am. And if half of those businesses go out, what happens to the government? What happens to the structure? What happens to the money for the poor families that are trying to survive that aren't even my level, right? These are people that need social help and child help and schooling, food. That stuff, if our economy collapses, that stuff goes away. The safety net that us small business owners provide through our tax dollars as part of that, the whole structure of our society is fragile. It's not a guarantee. So the people that are hungry now will starve. And then additional people will be added to those roles. And so that's something that we need to consider as part of our community is how do we keep the community safe, bigger than just a virus, but on a much bigger scale. How do we keep the economy safe? Because that economy is what keeps us running, right? Schools
Absolutely.
and churches.
And really, at the end of the day, my concern is, and you talk about the tax base and where that's going to come from and printing $2 trillion of fiat currency with no goods or services exchanged, what that's going to do to hyperinflation. And we're living it, and we're seeing it happen right now, and the attrition in small businesses, and we haven't even reopened to see what Main Street looks like. It's going to be devastated, and we see that this is crappy all the way around. I think that my thing is division. How do we keep unified? And the overreach of government is seriously one of the biggest concerns in my life. I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way, but there's a certain amount of a crisis that you have to have trust in your elected officials.
Agreed, and I think we all did for the first month.
Yeah, the first month.
Right? No, I'm serious.
Well,
for 1 month,
patient.
we all sat
patient.
back and we said, okay, we're going to follow the rules.
And you look at your ledger. You
right?
start to see that happen.
Well, it's not just about money, because I don't want to make it about money.
Because you owe people, too. And it breaks your heart when you go, I can't pay this person or this vendor or this employee.
Supply
or
chain.
Furlough them.
The supply chain of people killing their livestock and pouring out milk, and their crops are going to be plowed under. We need to be considerate of that in terms of feeding humanity.
I just don't want you to be a target, Jennifer.
I'm okay being a target if it means that I'm doing it for the right reasons.
Okay.
I'm okay that if people don't like that. Strong women throughout history, it's strong people, heroes throughout history. Not that I think I'm a hero or anything like that, but people that stick their neck out to do great things. Some of them, crash and burn, and that's okay, but it's the ones that stick their neck out because they think they're doing it for the right reason, because they are doing it for the right reason, and that are doing it for everyone, right? Somebody's got to lead, and I took the baton and I led.
I know you did. And your heart's in the right place. Listen, if there's anything I know, you have a huge heart. You care about all types of people around you, just anyone that's around you care about. Humanity is showing some good things right now, but it's also very uncertain times. And you've worked so hard on your small business, and to see it go away in a flash of a pan of something that you didn't do to cause this, that's a very tough pill to swallow.
It is.
And I get it.
And I will tell you, there's a lot of support for what I did. I've actually since then reopened as just to go and take out, and people are coming in daily, including right before I left. I was open for the morning. Some lady came in and she said, "I heard about you." She goes, "I'm here because I've never been here before. I came across town because I want to support you. I like what you're about and what you're doing. I believe in your cause." So that's a huge statement. I also had a lady say, "My daughters will know your name." And I want you to think about that for a second. My daughters will know who you are because you're somebody that's brave enough to stand up against what they see as tyranny right now in terms of government, overbearing government, and taking away our property rights and not giving us due process, killing our businesses
Let's
and our
see how
homes.
it plays out, though.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I guess that's all we can do.
Let's see how it plays out. And truly, I want to follow it, and I want to see what you do, and I want to be helpful in a sense that can be productive. If that's possible,
sure.
Cool. If
Best thing about this, though,
Yeah.
me doing that got me back on your show.
Stop
and I got
it.
to see you and Jay, my two favorite people. Best thing.
Jared
Best
Leonard,
thing ever.
give us your last word.
My last word about what? Which part? I never had a first word. I just got here.
Sorry.
No,
I got a lot
that's
to
okay.
say.
It was good conversation, and I'm just relaxing. So, no, this is going to, on the other side of this, the restaurant industry is going to be different. There's a lot of fluff that's going to be skimmed off the top. A lot of unnecessary restaurants are going to close, and I know that sounds like a crappy thing to say, but there's a lot of unnecessary restaurants. There's people who do this for the wrong reasons. The people who do this for the right reasons, who are hard workers, who are problem solvers, who are thick-skinned, and who are in it to win it, will survive. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, buddy. See you soon.
Enjoy the beach.
Yeah. Bring your family back. There they are. All right. Someone's living life.
Right.
It's not me.
Over here.
Hey, good to see you guys. Have fun. Your dad's
All right, see you later, guys.
All right, see you, Jared. Jared Leonard, SSC Collective. He owns a few places in Chicago called Budlong. He also owns a pizzeria here called, what's the pizzeria's name again?
Grabowski's.
Grabowski's Pizzeria. Delicious pizza. And opening up a new restaurant in Evergreen right now called Campfire.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll have to go.
I think you should. We have Andrew Moore here. He's going to jump in on the conversation. Jennifer, again, listen, that was a spirited conversation. I think a lot of people can appreciate. You got a lot of fans on here, Stephanie in particular. Why is Jennifer's opinion so strong, as you say? Because it's different than yours? Because it goes against the grain? Question authority, always.
There you go. Hey, Stephanie, come see me at the winery.
She'll
I'll
be
buy
there.
you a glass of wine.
That's right. She'll buy you a glass of wine. And bring 40 of your friends and sit real close to each other without masks on. That's the only place in town that you can go do it.
No, that's not true. We are closed. We are closed for inside dining. We are only outdoors. Only to go, take out.
Only to go, take out.
And there are plenty of restaurants that are open right now that aren't telling
Hey, hide
anybody.
and watch. You think that you're probably on the forefront, but hide and watch. This is the floodgates are opening. People are getting itchy. The businesses, and they're looking. How long can you hang on? And
right.
The attrition is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I'm sad for all of those people that
too.
have put so much into their livelihood, and it's going to be gone.
Jennifer, I can only hope, and I've been saying it, with some of the most brutal, destructive fires leave behind devastation, but they also leave behind some of the most fertile soil.
Right.
And I'm hoping that you'll do exactly that. Look at the positives and move on. And I want to see your wineries be multiple locations. And
I'm gonna take
Bistro.
over
You
the
got the
wine
food.
world.
I got to taste the food sometime. You have a chef
Yeah, you
that's
haven't
been
been
around
there
with you for a
since-
while.
yeah.
How long's the chef been there?
Chef D, he's been with me 2 years, actually, in May.
Dude's
we just
cranking
celebrated.
it.
I'm telling you, he's such a character, too. He's the worst dad jokes that you'll ever hear. I mean, the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just look at him and grimace. But his food is amazing. And you've seen my little place.
Yeah.
It was a bank. It wasn't meant to be a restaurant. I literally gave him a couple of pizza ovens, and
Yeah.
he has made the most amazing food
awesome.
back there. We've grown quite a bit. But everything, we grow our own produce out front. Everything's super fresh, local sourced as much as possible.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's just solid. And Chad's still making some amazing wine.
I love me some Chad. I love me some you, too. Thank you for stopping by today.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it, no doubt. And we will catch up soon and do more of that. And I can't wait to see what's up your sleeve, because I know there's got to be something. Got to be something. Andrew Moore is going to join us right now in Studio Kitchen, Colorado, as we're just opening up the doors. Anybody's allowed in here. Who's next? Andrew Moore's next. So the headline reads, last stop for Next Stop Brewery. And these are where the heartbreaking stories are coming in. You're looking at desperate times call for desperate measures. But sometimes you just got to, hang it up. And it's terrible to hear. But the attrition rate for breweries in Colorado looking to be up to 60% by midsummer. And I don't think I've ever seen this gentleman without a beard. Who are you? Yeah. It's Andrew Moore.
I'm still getting used to it.
When did you shave the beard, Andrew?
About 2.5 weeks ago. I think about it from time to time, and usually I chicken out. But yeah, this seemed like the time to experiment.
Was that your way of lashing out at the government?
No.
Should we open up the brewery for any and all, or should I shave my beard?
You should keep growing your beard, Greg.
Hey, I have been. This is about 4 weeks.
Yeah. I don't. Should we open up the breweries? I mean, I think
What do you think? First of all, what did you think of what you just heard?
I mean, I thought it was a great spirited conversation. I'm glad that this can be a place where you can have those kinds of conversations. I think there are a couple challenges in my mind with some of the points that were just made, and I think one of the big issues is that.
How about safety?
Let's
start there.
I mean, let's talk about somewhere between 30 and 50% of COVID-19 carriers are asymptomatic, right? So I might be 33 years old, feel healthy, be in a low-risk demographic for COVID, but I could have it, and I could give it to other people. I could, give it to my grandparents. I could give it to people with underlying conditions, and never know, right? And I think that's part of the issue too. And
seeing businesses shut down and livelihoods and careers, jobs lost.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge economic impact. I mean, I would also respectfully disagree with the idea that no one's thinking about the economic fallout. I mean, I feel like that's about all we talk about.
Well, that was kind of the point that I was trying to make with Jennifer is, do you think somebody who's a capitalist at heart and has an ego the size of the universe, that they're going to want to take their administration's economy and throw it right into the ground? If President Trump would be that president that says there's nothing to this COVID, wouldn't he?
I mean, I think that
he would be the first person to do that.
Yeah, I think that he's increasingly worried about economic metrics going forward. And, we've seen him push for reopening, right?
Certain amount of herd immunity right now, though. And
I mean, that's another I've heard.
I'm sorry, this is about next
But no,
stop.
it's fine. I think one of the challenges, though, is that this is all happening so fast, right? That the science can't keep up with what we want to know, right? Like, we don't have enough information about the virus to know whether herd immunity would even work, right? The underlying assumption of herd immunity, somewhere between 70 to 90% of the population needs to have antibodies that fight COVID-19. Well, how many people have to die for us to get to 70 to 90%? You hope it's not you or someone that you know, but you really have no control over that if we're all just going to go outside.
You're such a mindful person.
So I think part of the shutdown is the scientific community needs time to generate the evidence to create a cohesive, logical plan moving forward. And the other thing I'll say, and then we can talk about next stop, is that, I think there was some talk about, the original death toll being in the millions, and now it's only 80,000. But, a smaller number. Anything that we do as a safe-at-home initiative, right? If the numbers go down, it's going to look like an overreaction, right? But we don't know what the numbers would have been had we not stayed at home, and that's part of the issue too, I think.
Yeah, and also I think that it's interesting that the conversation is fair. Is COVID selective? COVID doesn't go into Walmart. COVID doesn't go into Home Depot.
Well, didn't you have that Walmart in Aurora or someplace that got shut down because they did the back tracing or contact tracing and found that they had linked it to 3 deaths from a failure to comply with social distancing regulations, and so it is. I mean, those places I certainly admit there's some inequality in the way that this has been gone about, and I think if the criticism is if the order wasn't perfect, we can probably all get on board with that.
I hate that there's really a political aspect to it, but there always has to be when it comes to making decisions for others, right? But truly, that's the way our system is built, and if we're looking at moving forward together collectively, right? We have enough problems right now. But collectively moving forward, I think there has to be some sort of cohesive plan that people are going to get immediately. It's time. It's time. People want to know when is the end of this thing. Yeah. And I think what we're seeing right now on a federal, state, and local level is that they're still trying to figure that out. And I don't think that that's acceptable at this point. It's either pull the Band-Aid off and let's get back at it, or what? And the or what is really, at this point in time, more confusing and more scary than the pull the Band-Aid off with the amount of data that we have. And so at the end of the day, the political portion of this, it stinks. It stinks, but it's what has to be dealt with. Here, oh, man, so this breaks my heart. Intrepid Sojourner Beer Project. And business is business, right? Business dictated that Intrepid was having troubles as it was, and you were doing everything that you could possibly do with you and your business partners to pivot Intrepid Sojourner into a new viable brand pre-coronavirus.
Right.
What did you do? And then we'll jump into where you're at now.
I mean, one of the ways we had originally tried to pivot was by rebranding as Next Stop and focusing more specifically on larger scale distribution in Colorado and outside of Colorado. And so we rebranded in October as Next Stop when we started canning some of our beers. And we've been working with Colorado Craft Distribution, a local craft distributor who's been picking up a lot of local craft brands, and started pushing through they do most of the Front Range and the I-70 corridor of Colorado, and pushing cans and things that way. But and then trying to sort of line up some out-of-state distribution as well. And we had a series of setbacks on the out-of-state side, and the market in Colorado, I think, is one of the most competitive beer markets in the country, maybe outside of Oregon and California. And it's only getting more competitive in other places.
So in 2018, the Brewers Association came out with a study and subsequently wrote an article about how the survival of craft breweries need to land in their tap room. An 80% tap room sales model and 20% distribution model. That wasn't working out for Intrepid Sojourner Beer Project for a few reasons.
Yeah.
One being location. Which
So we love the Arts District community there in the Santa Fe Arts District, and we've loved being surrounded by sort of creative people doing interesting things. And I think, but there have been challenges in the neighborhood as well. And I think that one of the big ones for us was population density, right? There's not a high population density in that area. And so despite the fact that we were only about 6 blocks from downtown, we found ourselves in the position of being sort of a destination spot without really the infrastructure in that location to support being a destination spot, right? No huge rolling patio or no parking lot where you could put 300 cars. And so, when the weather gets bad or when the economy gets bad, right, and people are staying closer to home, they're going to the breweries they can walk to and bike to.
Sure.
And that was a challenge at times for our location, absolutely.
So being ahead of, obviously, nobody saw COVID coming, but that model still existed of 80-20, 80% tap room, 20%. But you and your partners decided, well, let's take a left-hand turn. Let's go into more of the distribution end of this. And you think about it, well, gosh, if you could have gotten some footing 2.5 years ago and come into COVID right now with those distribution channels set up, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Probably not. No, I mean, distribution is facing its own challenges before and now during, a world with COVID. And but yeah, I mean, we had, like I said, we were pretty close and had some sort of disappointing setbacks as far as that goes. But, on some level, I think sometimes it's good business advice. If everyone is doing thing A, then it's time for you to do thing B. If everyone is turning left, you should turn right. And, I think we had a product that was unique enough and that if any brand is going to break out on a sort of national scale, then it's going to be something different and unique. And I think we were well positioned to do that.
Gosh,
for
I
a
do
while.
too.
So,
I really do too.
But now you have, in Colorado, for example, you have breweries looking to diversify their revenue streams now that tap rooms are closed, and then probably operating at some reduced capacity going forward. So breweries that had no intention of canning or bottling are now rushing to put beer in cans. Right, distributors' phones are ringing around the clock, and so in a market that was already hyper competitive, you've got 200 new entries almost overnight, because we've got to make up some of that shortfall from our tap rooms being closed.
Creativity and pivoting, and obviously you guys exhausted every thought of survival at this point.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there comes a point in time where there may be options, right? But the odds are long. And I think in a world with coronavirus, the options are good. The shots get even longer, right? And it's just like, we put a lot of time and a lot of money into this. And, at what point do you say, well, the money is no longer worth the chance of success, in this particular option? And I think that's the point where we found ourselves.
COVID hurried that along.
COVID, I think, hurried that along, right? I mean, maybe there are still some Hail Mary passes, but in a COVID world, those just don't make financial sense to me anymore.
Absolutely. Sad that it's happening, and you look around, and I always look to where, you talk about those Hail Mary passes, and I worry about the craft brewing industry as a whole. Talking to Bob Pease the past couple of times from the Brewers Association, you could see the worrisome on his face, and rightfully so. It's a very worrisome time, but the attrition rate of 60% of Colorado breweries, and I don't know. I'm hoping that that's bunk data that came from folks that were filling out questionnaires that were very scared of painting a positive picture. To put the most bleak picture for funding reasons or what. I can't believe 60% will be put down and laid to rest. Can you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think one of the issues in going forward is the complete lack of certainty. And, I think you should be suspicious of anyone who says they know what's going to happen going forward, because we're in uncharted territory, and part of what is so scary is that no one knows, right? Is it going to be 14% of breweries? Is it going to be 60% of breweries? Is it going to be 5% of breweries? It's going to continue to hinge on lots of factors, right? How long are we closed to go only? How long do we have to operate at 40% or 60% or whatever the number capacity is? How long are big events going to be canceled? How long, most of the increase in liquor store sales is going to companies like InBev and Jim Beam, right? Like, how long are people going to tighten their wallets and buy the cheaper domestic brands?
The comfort brands, right?
What's going to happen in September, right? If we have a second wave of COVID in a time when the beer market, typically tends to slow down anyway.
Were there too many breweries before?
No, I don't think so.
You remember? We used to have an ongoing thing. It was like, breweries are so illustrious that one just got opened up right now. You remember when?
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
truly
there was
happening
definitely
at
a time.
that rate.
Yeah, and there was definitely a time when you had 4 or 5 breweries opening every week, right? And the sentiment was, I mean, they were
The more the merrier.
Yeah, the more the merrier, and they're kind of like mints, right? You could open a mediocre tap room somewhere in the middle of nowhere with grain bags stapled to the ceiling and make decent to mediocre beer, and people would come. And that time has gone away before coronavirus. Right. But I also, we were talking about this the other day with some industry people. People are always asking this question about saturation, and I sort of feel like that's the wrong question to be asking. Are there too many breweries? I mean, there's something like 10,000 breweries, and these are approximate numbers, but something like 10,000 breweries in the United States, right? Something like 45,000 wineries in the United States, right? No one is, you didn't ask your last guest, when are there too many wineries? Because I think it's different. The issue is, in my mind, that the nature of the competition changes as those numbers get bigger, right? So when there's only 2,000 breweries, then it doesn't so much. Do you make good beer? All right, check that box. You're probably fine. But when there's 10,000 breweries, then it's more like running a restaurant, right? You're no longer competing just on the quality of your beer, right? Lots of breweries in Colorado make award-winning beer. And that's just sort of par for the course now. It just gets you a seat at the table. Mm-hmm. What you're competing on now is things like, the ambiance of the tap room, the experience of the tap room, the knowledge of the servers, the location, right, the convenience, all these other factors that restaurants have been competing on for decades. Now breweries have to play that game. What's your social media look like? Mm-hmm. What's your website look like? Right? What's your community outreach look like? And so, breweries that don't want to play those games or don't want to participate, I think those breweries are going to struggle more than breweries who are on top of it.
Believe it or not, it is American Craft Beer Week, May 11th through the 17th. Jay, no audio. I'm just going to play this as we have the conversation.
I lost your computer, so you got to redo that thing for me.
Lost the computer. Being in the midst of Craft Beer Week, right? And kind of really not much to celebrate right now, but let's make no mistake that we all love some craft beer, and there are some breweries that are going to obviously survive and make it past this. And this is a hashtag Give Craft Beer. That's really what the push is right now. Support your brewery, but also give some beer too. And I just love this video that shows the faces and the brewers and the breweries and what they're doing. And we're catching up with Andrew Moore right now from Next Stop Brewing Company. It broke my heart when I read the Jonathan Scheik's Westward, the title of that article, Last Stop for Next Stop Brewery. And, that I know you. I know your business. I know the people behind that business. I know your struggles throughout the year. I know that you supported the Modern Eater Show for quite some time with your hard-earned dollars that I can't help but wonder if you had those back, would that have bought you?
No, I mean, I think, one of the reasons I think about or maybe hesitate to get into this conversation about, should we open, should we close, is because I think opening back up, it's not the end of the crisis, right? It's really only the beginning, right? Being closed for 8 or 10 weeks, however long it's been, it feels like 4 years. It's only the beginning of the crisis. I don't think anybody has a clear picture of what distribution companies are going to look like a year from now, what restaurants are going to look like a year from now, what small breweries are going to look like a year from now, right? Should we expect consolidation because of this? Should we expect...
Well, I want to ask you a couple of those questions as I think about survival and creativity, and we're seeing a little bit of leniency going on right now. Like, when did we ever think that we would see you being able to, or a restaurant filling up cups with to-go booze? Just never thought I'd see that.
Or letting breweries deliver. We've been joking a little bit. It's like you can tell how silly the law is by how quickly it goes away. Yeah. And I think this is an opportunity for we need our lobbying organizations right now, like the Brewers Association, like the Colorado Brewers Guild, because if we're going to come out the other side of this with some hope of reaching the numbers that we used to reach, we're going to have to get creative, and some of those restrictions are going to have to go away.
Yeah. So what about food trucks use a centralized location in commissary kitchen. What about a centralized location for one brew place where multiple breweries brew, and they just have a face for a brewery?
That makes a lot of sense to me. It does, and I've seen that one or two places. I think there's a place in North Carolina and a place in Illinois. But it's no longer feasible to start a brewery and go out and drop $300,000 on new brewing equipment to brew twice a week, right? Like that's just ridiculous, I think, now in this day and age. And so, can you have a brewery where you've got six breweries?
Could you have mobile breweries
sharing the same? That's going to take some more lobbying on the part of our representatives. But
would you do that? Would you do a next stop truck? And
I think that'd be super fun. I actually remember where we were in Telluride, and there was a barbecue truck, and the back of it was all glass, right? So you could see them in the kitchen doing the barbecue. And I was like, how cool would this be if you had a little nano brewery back there? Yeah. You could see the fermenters going, and you could just pull up at the festival, on your special events permit, and just pour pints for 6 hours or 2 days, however long the festival is. I think that would be sort of a fascinating. But right now, I mean, the way that liquor licenses are structured and things like that right now, it's just not a possibility.
Larry Herz is coming up. Stick around for that. Andrew, maybe stick with us through that if you don't have a appointment here soon. Fire sale. Is it what happens now with your brewery? With Next Stop still sitting there. I drive by it every day to go to work. What are you going to do? And I've seen some things with some great deals. It breaks my heart.
So the tap room is open through May 30th. Everything is 50% off. Beer, merchandise, everything. So at the end of May 30th, we will close the doors. We'll continue to have some beer in liquor stores. Rome, Istanbul, and Bangkok will probably be in cans through the summer, and then once those are gone, they're gone, and we'll be sort of out of that space officially and gone at the end of August.
Are you getting out of the game?
No, I don't think so.
Don't do it.
I mean, part of this is if we're being perfectly honest, issues prior to coronavirus exacerbated by coronavirus.
Yeah.
So. And for me,
you've been very transparent about that.
And we've been doing this really hard for 3.5, 4 years. It's time to step back. It's time to let some of the chips fall where they're going to fall and see what happens. I think we need some time to see how many breweries are going to close. We need some time for landlords to feel the squeeze of this the rest of us, right? And bring their prices down. We need commercial real estate to start back up again.
What do you get? I mean, a classically trained archaeologist. If you jump back into that game, you're probably going to have to stick around there for a while. Are you going to work at Jiffy Lube or something in the meantime?
I think I'll pick up something totally different and unrelated and just learn how to do that.
Be a bartender.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do. I might do a week or so of what Jared Leonard was doing in that video.
Sit on the beach.
Just sit on the beach and do nothing.
Well, he was clearly doing push-ups.
He did have the muscle
off
shirt
camera.
on.
Yeah, he didn't start out with a muscle shirt. Just to FYI, if you go back to that video, he didn't. We had him connected, and then it was give me a second, I have to get an iced tea. And he came back with some veins bulging out there.
Yeah, which way did the
Andrew? I know whatever you do.
I mean, I want to stay in the industry and stay involved, and maintain these wonderful relationships and connections that we've made, with you guys and with other people in the beer industry. And I think, long term, 12 to 24 months down the road, maybe there's something new. But for the time being, we're gonna see what happens. We're just gonna watch the world and see what happens.
That's all you can do, right?
Yeah.
Take a deep breath, sit back, watch it happen. Figure out your game plan in the meantime. You're a very thoughtful dude. You'll probably just jump on your bike and take off for.
I've thought about that. Yeah, I got some big bike rides that are percolating.
You're married, so you better get the 2-seater.
Get her out on the tandem. Yeah.
How is she? Wife is good.
Yeah, she's good.
Good.
Yeah,
good to hear that. Don't go anywhere. Stay right here. Here's Larry Herz. Larry Herz. Hey, buddy. Is that the Piper Inn?
I'm at the Piper Inn.
Yeah, I see that. And look at the people distancing in the background there. Wow, what
staying away from me.
Spirited show that we had here today, my friend. Jennifer Hulan on from Water's Edge Winery. She's a firecracker. And then we took a peek into the Looking Glass, and we went to Austin, Texas, and checked in with the Frog and the Bull to see what David Hernandez was doing, as his dining room is open.
50% was he open? I didn't see.
25%.
And that's legal, though, there, right?
He was telling me that the patio has full capacity, that you can that didn't make sense to me. I'm going to have to look into that.
Do you know if that's legal or not legal?
Well, he was telling me that full capacity. I asked him what was legal. He said full capacity for the patio seating, which is interesting. I did check out Man Verde. That was a good one, huh?
What can you do? You've had plenty of guests on your show. You can't control your guests. I don't pre-screen. I told you, anybody who wants to be on the show could be on the show.
Well, it was a good one. I mean, I didn't mind it at all. And just so you know, Andrew, Larry Herz is here. OCN Eats and OCN Drinks. He's a restaurant promoter.
Yes,
and,
not a critic.
That's right. Larry is really just in it to promote and highlight businesses, restaurants all over the metro area, and bars too, right?
Yeah, actually, I work with a lot of breweries, Dry Dock, Lone Tree. If you look on OCN Drinks, I had the pickle vodka last week, CBD drinks people bring me. Just only local. I'm just here to help local. If you're a chain, I generally will not work with you. That doesn't mean that you don't need support, because you have employees too as a chain that are here, but you got big money behind you and you don't need my help.
Larry,
and for Andrew, I know what he's going through. Obviously, he doesn't know, but I've closed several of my restaurants in my career, and it's a hard thing. And for your marriage, for your family, for your mental health. But life goes on, and bigger and better things have happened for me where I never thought this would be my career, as a restaurant promoter. So I reinvented myself at the age of 51, and learned how to work with social media and make YouTube videos and podcasts, and my life is much better.
Well, good. And thank you. It's been and continues to be sort of a journey. I feel like the wheels are still only turning at about 70%. The rest is just foggy, but we'll get there.
Yes. So Larry does a daily segment called What's for Lunch. And today's episode I thought was particularly special. Was he stoned?
You're not the first person to ask that.
Well, that's okay.
He's from Boulder.
It's okay if he was, man. I mean, more power to him.
Hey, that's legal.
I really didn't get that impression. I just think he was just nervous. That's all.
Seems like a really cool dude. Here's a taste of Larry today on What's for Lunch.
His laugh is awesome.
This damn computer, seriously. Let's work. Here it goes. All right, you ready, Larry? Here we go.
Welcome to a Taco Tuesday edition
of What's for Lunch. You brought me a lot of stuff. What did you bring for lunch today?
I got two things going on in the back.
Hamburger, Colorado.
All right, I'll get this straightened out right now. Where's the other thing playing in the background here? Is that you, Jay?
No.
No?
No.
Not me.
You promise?
Well, God. Well, now hold on. I got. Let me show.
Is that you, Jay?
Andrew, you're front and center on the stream right now, so don't do anything.
All right, let's just play mine and see what happens.
Oh, yeah. Don't pick my nose or anything like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Put me on.
I'm your host.
That everyone's pumped
Look,
to
Mr.
try.
Producer's
Where's that coming from?
I'm pumped just looking at them. They look amazing.
That is so weird. I don't
That's
have.
all-
I
that's all
promise
you.
you, I don't have any. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, here we go. This is What's for Lunch.
Good afternoon, Colorado. Welcome to a Taco Tuesday edition of What's for Lunch. I'm your host, Larry Herz. Today we have a special
Good afternoon,
visitor.
Colorado.
What the hell?
Welcome to a Taco
Seth
Tuesday
Verde?
edition.
Why is it coming through twice?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'll check my thing. I don't
It's
think
so good
I
you
don't
wanna
think
hear
I'm
it
crazy here.
Here, I'm just going to start it over.
Have you heard of Verde?
No, it's in Boulder.
He has one in Boulder and one in Louisville.
Yeah, I don't
This
know.
guy's doing pretty good. He's got 2 stores, and I thought the food was
There we
fantastic.
go. We got it now.
Okay.
With Colorado. Seth from Verde. Thanks for coming in, Seth.
Oh, thank you so much for having me out here, Larry.
Give me a little background on Verde.
So Verde is 10 years old. So a little bit on the history is I was in the Peace Corps. I finished my service in 2010. Shout out to all the RPCBs out there. We love you guys. And then my best friend approached me to start the food truck revolution in Boulder, Colorado. So just on a whim, I got accepted to a few grad schools, I got another assignment in the Peace Corps if I wanted to do it, but decided just to move out with my best friend to Boulder. I'd never been there, and start this project called Verde. We started and hustled the food truck for 2 or 3 years, just grinding, trying to get any business, building the brand, building the menu, building the recipes, just marketing it, trying to build clientele. People took to it, loved it. We brought in another partner named Casey Slager who helped with the food trucks.
I'm going to jump
Governor says you can open at 50%. Don't expect every restaurant to open at 50%. A lot of them have already done the math and have decided that it's not worth it, and they're not going to do it. So I think that's a newsflash to a lot of people. I don't think they realize that that's going through a lot of restaurant owners' heads.
Yeah. And refrain that we've always lived by is work hard, be nice, eat burritos. It's on our logo.
Now,
Jay,
we've had
really
this dude on the show.
Are you sure?
Really?
Yeah, we've had this guy on the show.
Remember him. People took to it.
I don't think so.
Yeah. We had him in from Boulder, and it was a taco place.
So not as Verde?
I think it was as Verde.
He's only had Verde.
I mean, I met this guy. You know my memory, but I would make a dollar bet that says
how
he
was
hasn't
the
been
food,
on
Larry?
The show.
You know, this is the furthest food has come to me so far.
That's what I was
from
wondering.
Boulder.
Yeah,
and it was delicious.
Really, it held up well, huh?
I reheated a little bit of it. I nuked the meat to warm it up, but yeah, I tried a whole bunch of different things, and specifically the Brussels sprouts. I've never had Brussels sprouts in a Mexican style with the cotija cheese and a little bit of a spicy crema, jalapeno crema. It was amazing. The one in Louisville is in the old Blue Parrot.
In Louisville, old Blue Parrot. Is that
Blue Parrot?
Yeah,
legendary Blue Parrot? No?
Yeah, in Louisville. Okay.
Yeah. If you gave me $1 billion and no map, I couldn't get to Louisville.
Really?
I've never been to Louisville in my life.
Yeah, I don't even know what direction
they have some great outdoor seating in Louisville.
I think it's near Bloomfield.
Not right now.
So you have.
I got a little bit of news.
Yep.
A couple of openings just happened. Marg's is opening both locations on Thursday.
The one
Marg's Taco Bistro.
Yep, Cherry Creek, and where's the other one?
Downtown, pretty sure.
I'm surprised that they've been closed down. That they haven't been doing curbside or delivery.
I bet they got their PPP money, and that's why they're opening.
That's why they're rolling.
And Uno Mas on 6th reopened, and then Annette Scratch is opened up for fried chicken. You can place your order reservation to get their fried chicken for this weekend. And I know you know her and how great her food is, so you can get that fried chicken if you go to our website, and you have to reserve it now. It sells out fast.
Her name is Caroline Glover, and if you missed it, man, you should check out the stream that we had of COVID 2020 with her jump starting it for the Angel Relief Fund, but very talented
She's
chef.
A special chef.
She really is. Man. Is the James Beard thing still at the 6? We're still waiting?
It's at 4 here locally, and it won't be until September before we know who.
Did you guys, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but did you guys talk about the class action lawsuit against Grubhub?
You know what, man? I seriously am setting that thing up. I'm hoping to get Eric Riggs on.
He's, I know him.
Do you know Eric? Will you put a bug in his ear? I want to get him on for tomorrow.
His mom's a good friend, was a good regular of mine,
should I
just tag me in the post? And I can get him on. I'm pretty sure.
So here's the Fox 31 piece.
As unavailable for delivery, even though they're very much open and looking for sales.
Eric Riggs owns Freshcraft, a beer bar and kitchen near Denver's popular 16th Street Mall. His family-run business relies on customers who request deliveries during this pandemic, while dining in is still not an option.
It's people like me that own businesses that work hard to keep these businesses afloat that are working even harder right now. And it's gonna take a lot of effort from the consumer to realize that.
When you type in Fresh Craft Delivery online, one of the first choices is the delivery service Grubhub. But when you click further, that site alerts the customer Fresh Craft is not accepting online orders, even though it is.
It's absolutely devastating, and it's appalling that this company does these practices.
I just think that everyone needs to play fair, and Grubhub isn't doing that.
Attorney Ross Ziv filed this federal lawsuit Monday afternoon, claiming Grubhub is punishing restaurants that don't pay fees to partner with it by driving business to other similar restaurants nearby that do. These messages are posted with conscious disregard for the truth, the suit says.
They'll do everything that they can to steer their customers back to where they can make money.
Ziv says it's not just mom and pop shops being shut out. He filed the lawsuit as a class action. Riggs, meanwhile, wants his customers to know he's very much open Tuesdays through Sundays and still delivering to any paying customers.
I don't want to see all these restaurants like myself close all over the country because they're not getting their word out because big companies like Grubhub are preventing them from, marketing properly.
All right, you guys get the idea of what that is. Larry, I want to go to you real quick, and I'm glad you brought this up because this is going to be a big topic of tomorrow's show. And I want to actually go do exactly what they did on the news. Fresh Craft Delivery.
It's absolutely a bait and switch.
And so what's interesting here, Larry, is freshcraft.com. So the first entry that I see is Grubhub, right?
Yeah.
I thought
it's an ad.
Yeah, I thought I saw on that news piece that the first entry was Uber Eats, second entry was Grubhub, and then
it depends. It doesn't always stay the same.
And it moves around. So the third entry I'm seeing is their website altogether. Is this a flub on their part to where they're not doing their proper SEO coding? And
no.
How would Grubhub be able to obtain a higher ranking on Google than their actual business website?
Yeah, that's what Grubhub does. That's how it works. No, it's got nothing to do with SEO.
That is just a sad testament.
Did you hear that Uber's buying Grubhub?
No, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I'm looking down here at Freshcraft, and a lot of these are services. DoorDash, Grubhub, there's the Open Table. Restaurants, a lot of times, boy, they have to be really, really careful of their positioning, and it just really sucks if a large company can grab their information and place higher in a Google search than their actual business.
When you're looking at the Grubhub, I can't see what you're seeing. Does it say is it an ad or is it an organic?
No, this is an ad, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So ads are always going to come up above.
Wait, hold on. Would it say ad next to it?
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing right here, Andrew, show me right here. That looks organic to me.
No, I got to look.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't say.
Doesn't say ad next to it.
Doesn't say ad next to it.
That looks organic to me.
Hold on.
So I'm seeing them come up.
Well, I typed in Freshcraft Denver, and Freshcraft came up first.
It did? So it's delivery. That's where it's at.
Oh, you hit delivery.
That's what they've Googled. Yes, that's what they Googled was Freshcraft Delivery. You did Denver, huh? Denver. And the first entry is Freshcraft Home, and then Yelp reviews. So it's the delivery.
They buy the word. They buy the word delivery.
I'm not so sure, or they just use it more in their SEO coding.
No.
It might be unethical, but it's not illegal, and I mean, I don't even know how unethical
what they're doing
it is.
That it's illegal is when you go to their site, it says Freshcraft is not delivering. And that forces you, you're like, oh, they're not delivering. I want delivery. I'll use another one of Grubhub's clients.
Now, Andrew, look how that just changed. I did Freshcraft Delivery again. The first thing comes up as an ad that's Uber Eats.
Yeah.
And then Grubhub went down to second, and Freshcraft is third. But that's interesting. So now I'm going to click on the the Grubhub, and it says, looks like we're missing something. It just goes to a blank page. They're not even listed on there. Interesting. And so their contention at Freshcraft is Grubhub has them listed on Google search, but when you click on that, they're pushing it to a similar type of business in the area that's not Freshcraft. It's another business that's actually paying Grubhub for positioning.
Yeah, it almost looks like Grubhub might have already changed.
It does, doesn't it?
Because that's not what it said in the story.
Boy, that's something else. Grubhub, they went on the defensive, and they're starting to scrub this.
I think so.
That's interesting.
And in the end, this is going to take years, and the only people who are going to make money off this are the lawyers.
That's interesting. Okay. If you can get Eric on, well, they also listed a lawyer in that article, too. He'd be interesting to hear from, but you're seeing it happen. We sure don't need any help to take away business. It's like, don't help me, but just don't hurt me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is. Just don't hurt me. Boy, that's an interesting one. Another restaurant that closed down, Larry, Liqueur on Broadway.
Never heard of it. Say it again.
Liqueur, Lacour. It's a blue building on Broadway, kind of a French bistro, 2 stories, big patio. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know where it is. I haven't been there.
You haven't been there?
Broadway, like South Broadway?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've shut their doors after many years. So that's an interesting one. We're starting to see it. What do you think? We're going to see a lot of closures in the next couple of weeks here, don't you think, Larry?
Oh, yeah. It's. I think that 30% number is realistic.
It's terrifying. Okay, we've got some work to do this week. Who's on What's for Lunch tomorrow?
Somebody I'm not really familiar with, but I'll try anything. It's called Uptown Humboldt. Do you know them?
Uptown Humboldt. Well, no, but I'm assuming that it's in Uptown and probably on Humboldt Street, and that's where Strings was. That's where Strings was, wasn't it? And then
Strings is Humboldt Farm Fish and Wine, so it's got to be somewhere right around there.
And it's not the same place, because I guess that's what I was asking.
Not the same place.
Not the same place. So they're on tomorrow. And then Thursday, you'll be with us over at Molly's. Do you want to bring a guest? Is there anybody that we've been wanting to clean up?
I don't know. It's a reach. I got Thursday on the show. I got the Piper Inn, but I can't see him sticking around till 3:30 or 3.
Well, we could have him on
Zoom.
Well, yeah, we could have him on Zoom.
Okay.
At the Piper Inn. We'll figure that out. And then Friday, it looks like we've got a week ahead of us here. What else am I missing here, Larry? Do you have any more restaurant tours that are out?
We just made a deal to produce videos with Jason at GQ Barbecue. We're going to make a series of YouTube videos for him for his own, using my guys to do tutorial videos how to do barbecue.
Hey, don't go past that too quick. So Jason, he's got a good YouTube channel, and he put it down for a while. Looks like you guys are going to get together and make another series of YouTube videos for Jason.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to want me in the videos. He's got more than enough personality for the two of us.
That's a cool partnership, but you could do that for other businesses as well.
Yeah, we actually were contacted by Bonanno Concepts to work with them and produce their videos. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be me in the videos. This video team, as you know, I mean, these guys are so talented that they'll work with any restaurant.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Larry Herz, ladies and gentlemen, that's OCN Eats and OCN Drinks. He joins us every single day right here on the Modern Eater Show. Until tomorrow, Larry, we're going to wrap this baby up. We went over about 15 minutes, but what a spirited conversation. If you guys missed any of Jennifer Hulan's from Water's Edge Winery, that was quite a conversation. And then again, it was very nice. And thank you very much, David Hernandez from Frog in the Bowl. Spent some time with us on the stream today. Got to thank Jared Leonard from SSC Hospitality. Andrew Moore, bigger and better things, man. And I hate to see it. Next Stop Brew Company, you put it to rest. And that is a day that I was hoping never came, but it came. And on May 30th, that'll be your final day. In the meantime, half off inside the brewery, right?
Correct, yeah. We're still at 925 West 8th Avenue until May 30th. Everything's half off, and yeah, we've got a few beers we're still releasing. We've got our collaboration with Spice Trade with Palo Santo Sour, and then a beer, big old 17% barley wine we're rolling out that's been in some Laws rye whiskey barrels for a while. So
we've had some good times in that brewery.
We'll maybe have a few more before it's gone.
Let's burn it down.
Burn that. As long as my landlord's not listening to this show.
Yeah, that's right.
No, party. I think he means party.
Yeah, that's what
it was a euphemism.
And Dr. Sara Metz, I think she probably knew we went past her today. That's good. We'll catch up with her tomorrow. Larry Herz, love you, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Piper in. Fantastic. Larry Herz right there. Okay, Jay Parker, thank you. Myself, Greg, Hulan back tomorrow, 2 p.m., 2 to 4 p.m. We'll be back here Wednesday right here. The Modern Eater Show continues.